Hi everybody, Sean Wolfslegel here. I wanted to let you all know that all the resources that you're about to see in this video are culminated from all around the internet. I wanted to make an easy to follow resource for you to go ahead and become the best cybersecurity professional that you can be and follow all the ports and know all the ports that you need to know in order to be successful in your career. I highly encourage you to go ahead and click on the link below to view the description and read through all the different websites where I gathered this information. There's a lot of good material here, and it will certainly help you out in your journey to become a cybersecurity professional. Thanks. I want to give a huge shout out to Adam Gordon, who formerly was with IT Pro TV. He's the one who originally came up with this list. So thanks, Adam, for all that you do. Keep on doing what you're doing, man. I'm going to go through and I'm going to explain what each port is, the number associated, and what it does. Port 20 or 21, FTP File Transfer Protocol. According to Fortinet, FTP is a standard network protocol used for the transfer of files from one host to another over a TCP-based network such as the internet. One of the main reasons why businesses need FTP is for its ability to perform large file size transfers. When sending a relatively small file like a Word document, for example, most methods usually do. But with FTP, you can send hundreds of gigabytes at once and still get a smooth transmission. Use FTP whenever you want to send a lot of files. You're sending files back and forth. But as you'll see later, there's an even better protocol to use. The next port on our list is 22. SSH, or Secure Shell, which is a method for securely sending commands to a computer over an unsecured network. SSH uses cryptography to authenticate and encrypt connections between devices. SSH also allows for tunneling, or port forwarding, which is when data packets are able to cross networks that they would not otherwise be able to cross. SSH is often used for controlling servers remotely, for managing infrastructure, and for transferring files. When traveling, the owner of a store might give their employees instructions from afar to ensure the store runs smoothly while they are gone. Similarly, SSH allows administrators to manage servers and devices from afar. Older remote management protocols like Telnet transported administrators' commands in a form that anyone could see. Imagine if the employees put the store owner on speakerphone during a call. All the customers in the store could overhear private instructions. Unlike Telnet, SSH is secure, hence the name Secure Shell. So we use this for remote encrypted connections and the ability to tunnel. SSH runs on top of the TCP/IP protocol suite, which much of the internet relies upon. Cloudflare goes into a lot more detail into SSH on their website, and I could spend a whole video talking about SSH, and there's a lot that it can do. It's one of our most useful ports for cybersecurity. If you don't take anything else away from this video, remember port 22 is SSH. And I highly encourage you to go out to Cloudflare's website and check out their rundown of what SSH does and what you can use it for. The next protocol is Telnet, port 23. Telnet is not used very often today, and for good reasons. It was developed in 1969 as a protocol that provides a command line interface for communication with a remote device or server, sometimes employed for remote management but also for initial device setup like network hardware. Telnet stands for teletype network, but it can also be used as a verb, to telnet, is to establish a connection using the Telnet protocol. Because it was developed before the mainstream adaptation of the internet, Telnet on its own does not employ any form of encryption, making it outdated. It has largely been overlapped by SSH, which is what you should use if you're ever remoting into a machine. Use SSH. Do not use Telnet. For the most part, Telnet has been completely eliminated. The next important port on our list is TCP port 25, also known as Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, SMTP. SMTP is a technical standard for transmitting electronic mail or email over a network. Like other networking protocols, SMTP allows computers and servers to exchange data regardless of their underlying hardware or software. Just as the use of standardized form of addressing an envelope allows the Postal Service to operate, SMTP standardizes the way email travels from sender to recipient, making widespread email delivery possible. SMTP is a mail delivery protocol, not a mail retrieval protocol. A postal service delivers mail to a mailbox, but the recipient still has to retrieve the mail from the mailbox. Similarly, SMTP delivers an email to an email provider's mail server, but separate protocols are used to retrieve that email from the mail server so the recipient can read it. When you think about sending email, you should definitely think about SMTP. The next port on our list is TACACS Plus, TACACS Plus. TACACS Plus is a security protocol used for authentication, authorization, and accounting services for network devices. TACACS stands for Terminal Access Control System. It is a security protocol that provides centralized validation of users who are attempting to gain access to a router or NAS. TACACS Plus provides separate authentication, authorization, and accounting services. You can use TACACS vendor-specific attributes, or VSAs, to manage administrator authorization. TACACS Plus VSAs enable you to quickly change the rules, access domains, and user groups of administrators through your directory instead of reconfiguring settings on the firewall. The next port on our list is port 53, DNS. This is another very important one. You're going to see DNS a lot in your career, so definitely make sure you pay attention to this part. DNS is the phone book of the internet. Humans access information online through domain names like NewYorkTimes.com or ESPN.com. Web browsers interact through Internet Protocol addresses, or IP addresses for short. DNS translates domain names to IP addresses so browsers can load Internet resources. Each device connected to the Internet has a unique IP address which other machines use to find the device. DNS servers eliminate the need for humans to memorize IP addresses, such as IPv4 addresses, or more complex, newer alphanumeric addresses, such as IPv6 addresses. So you can think about DNS like a phone book, and whenever you want to go ahead and type in any website online, you're actually searching for an IP address, and so if you go ahead and type in that IP, it's going to send you out to that. For us as humans, it makes a lot more sense to go ahead and have it so that we can type in words instead of a string of numbers. The next ports on our list are 67 and 68, DHCP. DHCP is a network management plans IP addresses and other communication parameters to devices connected to a network. For example, a router usually acts as a DHCP server in most home networks. It assigns IP addresses to your devices. Implementing this protocol saves time and prevents human errors. DHCP automatically allocates IP addresses to devices and provides other related configuration information such as subnet masks and default gateways. If it didn't exist, the addresses would have to be input manually, which would be inefficient, time-consuming, and error-prone. The next port on our list is TFTP, Trivial File Transfer Protocol. TFTP is a simple, high-level protocol for transferring data. Although TFTP is also based on FTP technology, TFTP is an entirely different protocol. TFTP was primarily designed to read or write files by using a remote server. However, TFTP is a multi-purpose protocol that can be leveraged for an array of different tasks. TFTP is typically used for transferring files, remote booting without hard drives, upgrading codes, backing up network configurations, backing up router configuration files, saving iOS images, booting PCs without a disk. The next port on our list is port 79, Finger Protocol. The Finger Protocol is a networking protocol that is for the exchange of human-oriented status and user information. The name finger protocol is based on Request for Comments, or RFC, 742 from December of 1977 as an interface to the name and finger programs that provide status reports on a particular computer system or a particular person at network sites. The finger program was written in 1971 by Les Ernest, who created the program to solve the need of users who wanted information on other users on the network. Information on who is logged in was useful to check the availability of a person to meet. This was probably the earliest form of presence information for remote network users. You'll likely never see finger protocol in your career. It's pretty outdated at this point. And from Wikipedia, the security concerns that are mentioned are: supplying such detailed information as email addresses and full names was considered acceptable and convenient in the early days of networking, but later was considered questionable for privacy and security reasons. Finger information has been used by hackers as a way to initiate a social engineering attack on a company's computer system. By using a finger client to get a list of a company's employees' names, email addresses, phone numbers, and so on, a hacker can call or email someone at a company requesting information while posing as another employee. The finger daemon has also had several exploitable security holes crackers have used to break into systems. For example, in 1988, the Morris worm exploited an overflow vulnerability in Finger D, among others, to spread. So the worms that we learned about in the malware video, that's how it took advantage of it, because of the finger daemon. The next port on our list is HTTP. HTTP is port 80. HTTP, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol, is the foundation of the World Wide Web and is used to load web pages using hypertext links. HTTP is an application layer protocol designed to transfer information between networked devices and runs on top of other layers of the network protocol stack. A typical flow over HTTP involves a client machine making a request to a server, which then sends a response message. We'll get into the flow of an HTTP request in a separate video. Stay tuned for that one. The next port on our list is Kerberos. Port 88 is Kerberos. Traditionally, when users access computer systems, they do so by entering a password. The challenge with this authentication method is that if hackers obtain the password, they can take on the user's identity and gain access to an organization's network. Organizations need a better way to protect their systems and users. This is where Kerberos comes in. A Kerberos is a system or router that provides a gateway between users and the internet. Therefore, it helps prevent cyber attacks from entering a private network. It is a server, referred to as an intermediary, because it goes between end users and the web pages they visit online. Fun fact, in mythology, Kerberos, also known as Cerberus, is a large three-headed dog that guards the gates to the underworld to keep souls from escaping. In our world, Kerberos is the computer network authentication protocol initially developed in the 1980s by MIT computer scientists. The idea behind Kerberos is to authenticate users while preventing passwords from being sent over the internet. The next port on our list is POP3, port 110. POP3, or Post Office Protocol version 3, is a common standard email protocol. POP3 protocol is used for receiving emails. It retrieves email messages from a server over a TCP IP connection. The current version is the third version of the original protocol, hence the 3 at the end of POP3. Much like a post office clerk, POP3 receives emails from the sender and holds them on a local machine until users download them. Essentially, Post Office Protocol 3 is a one-way client-server protocol used by web-based email clients to retrieve emails from email servers. Like other protocols such as IMAP and SMTP, POP3 aids emails in reaching their destinations. Post Office Protocol 3 and Internet Message Access Protocol, or IMAP, are both pull protocols, meaning they receive messages rather than push them like SMTP. But Post Office Protocol 3 was originally designed to only support one-way email synchronization, allowing users to view emails from just one device. This means you can use the protocol on your smartphone or your tablet to retrieve your emails, but you can't access those emails on all devices simultaneously. However, Post Office Protocol 3 allows users to view emails offline, which is a definite advantage. Users can configure, update, and maintain POP3 protocols with greater ease than other protocols. The next port on our list is 119, NNTP. The Network News Transfer Protocol, or NNTP for short, is essentially a TCP/IP transfer protocol for messages within news groups. These news groups are mainly utilized as part of the Usenet, where they offer a type of precursor of modern internet forums, space for the exchange of an unlimited number of text messages on the most diverse topics. NNTP no longer has an important role in digital communication, which can primarily be attributable to the fact that Usenet is now only used in isolated cases and among specialist groups. Since 1986, the Network News Transfer Protocol has been indispensable for the information network and is used both on server and client pages. The next port on our list is not to be confused with the last port on our list. This port is NTP. 123 NTP. That's how I remember it. That's how I recommend you remember it. 123 NTP. NTP is an internet protocol that's used to synchronize the clocks on computer networks to within a few milliseconds of Universal Coordinated Time, or UTC. It enables devices to request and receive UTC from a server that in turn receives precise time from an atomic clock. The next port on our list is port 135, Microsoft RPC Endpoint Mapper. In order to understand this, we have to understand what Microsoft RPC is. This is a Microsoft Remote Procedure Call. MSRPC is an inter-process communication, IPC, mechanism that allows client-server software communication. That process can be on the same computer, on the local network, or across the internet. Its purpose is to provide a common interface between applications. So then what is Microsoft RPC Endpoint Mapper, or port 135? RPC Endpoint Mapper allows RPC clients to determine the port number currently assigned to a particular RPC service. An endpoint is a protocol port or named pipe on which the server application listens to for client remote procedure calls. Client-server applications can use either well-known or dynamic ports. There is a flaw in the part of RPC that deals with message exchange over TCP/IP. A failure results because of incorrect handling of malformed messages. This particular failure affects the RPC Endpoint Mapper process, which listens on TCP/IP port 135. The RPC Endpoint Mapper allows RPC clients to determine the port number currently assigned to a particular RPC service. By sending a malformed RPC message, an attacker could get the RPC service on a machine to fail. This vulnerability could enable an attacker who could send RPC messages to the RPC Endpoint Mapper process on a server to launch a denial of service attack. Even though an attacker could cause machines to fail, it would not be possible to modify or retrieve data or execute code. The next port on our list is UDP port 137, NetBIOS Name Service, or NBNS. The NetBIOS Name Service is part of the NetBIOS over TCP protocol suite. NBNS serves much the same purpose as DNS does, translate human-readable names to IP addresses. As NetBIOS can run on top of several different network protocols, other implementations of the NetBIOS services have their own mechanisms for translating NetBIOS names to addresses. NBNS can only support IPv4 addresses. NBNS doesn't support IPv6. With the advent of SMB over TCP, it is no longer necessary to have a machine's NetBIOS name in order for that machine to make connections to SMB servers or in order for SMB connections to be made to that machine. And with the advent of dynamic DNS, a host can register its name and its IP address or addresses with a DNS server when it boots. You likely won't see NBNS in your career, but if you do, at least now you know what it does. The next port on our list is port 139, NetBIOS Session Service, or SMB over NetBIOS. NetBIOS Session Service is a method to connect two computers for transmitting large messages or heavy data traffic. Because the NetBIOS Session Service is involved in traffic generation and forwarding, TCP port 139 is used. The NetBIOS Session Service is mostly used for printer and file services over a network. The next port on our list is a really important one. It's port 143, IMAP, or Internet Message Access Protocol. IMAP is the standard email protocol that is used for retrieving emails. This special layer allows computers and servers to share messages with each other. IMAP is a popular layer protocol through which email clients receive emails from a mail server over TCP/IP connections. It was developed by Mark Crispin in 1986, making it easier for users to access mailboxes from a remote location as if it is present locally. It is one of the most used email protocols in the industry that allows users to access emails seamlessly. Most servers and email clients, including Google, Outlook, and Mozilla Thunderbird, support IMAP. The next port on our list is port 161, SNMP, or Simple Network Management Protocol. SNMP is an application layer protocol included in the Internet Protocol Suite, a set of the most commonly used communication protocols online. SNMP originated in the 1980s at the time when organizational networks were growing in both size and complexity. Today, it's one of the most widely accepted protocols for network monitoring. SNMP is used to collect data related to network changes or to determine the status of network-connected devices. Collecting this data can help IT professionals keep their finger on the pulse of all their managed devices and applications. Every device within the network can be queried in real time with SNMP, TCP, and other types of probes for their performance metrics. When thresholds for certain values are exceeded, software can alert system administrators of the issue, allowing them to drill into the data and troubleshoot a solution. The next port on our list goes hand in hand with the last one. This is port 162, SNMP trap. SNMP traps are a particular kind of message including information on alerts and problems. It's important to be able to view and use these pieces of information when managing your data ecosystem, as they provide critical device information on metrics that could majorly impact performance in applications. Using tools to view, interpret, and act on SNMP traps can be a good approach. The SNMP trap port is the port at which the manager receives the traps. This port is typically set at 162, as mentioned. However, you can change this port if necessary, and it may also differ depending on the SNMP manager you're using. One of the complicated things about SNMP traps is they're not always effective at alerting you when major errors have occurred. For example, sometimes the device agent will send out an SNMP trap for a minor issue and miss a major problem capable of bringing your entire network down. For instance, if the device experiences a fatal issue, shutting down the entire device, the SNMP agent can no longer work either, and no SNMP trap will be sent out. The next port on our list is another big one, very important. You're going to see it a lot in your career, and that is LDAP, port 389. Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. LDAP is a protocol that makes it possible for applications to query user information rapidly. Someone within your office wants to do two things: send an email to a recent hire and print a copy of that conversation on a new printer. LDAP makes both of those steps possible. Set it up properly and that employee doesn't need to talk with IT to complete their tasks. Companies store usernames, passwords, email addresses, printer connections, and other static data within directories. LDAP is an open vendor-neutral application protocol for accessing and maintaining that data. LDAP can also tackle authentication so users can sign on just once and access many different files on the server. LDAP is a protocol, so it doesn't specify how directory programs work. Instead, it's a form of a language that allows users to find the information they need very quickly. And if you are ever working in a Windows environment, you'll likely see Active Directory, which is a form of LDAP. It's Microsoft's form of LDAP. It's probably the most common way that you'll see LDAP in your career, at least now in 2023. In the future, it might change. The definition I just got was from Okta. Okta is becoming a very big player in that space, so you might certainly see some changes in the future from an LDAP perspective. And another big port on the list, port 443, HTTPS. HTTPS is Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. It is the secure version of HTTP, which is the primary protocol used to send data between a web browser and a web site. HTTPS is encrypted in order to increase security of data transfer. This is particularly important when users transmit sensitive data, such as by logging into a bank account, email service, or health insurance provider. Any website, especially those that require login credentials, should use HTTPS. In modern web browsers such as Chrome, websites that do not use HTTPS are marked differently than those that are. Look for a padlock in the URL bar to signify the web page is secure. Web browsers take HTTPS seriously. And as should you. HTTPS, everything. HTTPS, all the things. It is extremely important in 2023. Every website should be using HTTPS. If you don't take anything else away from this list, HTTPS is one of the absolute most important protocols you will ever need to know. 443, remember it for life. The next port on our list is port 445, SMB over TCP. So earlier on in the list, we were talking about port 139, which originally ran on top of NetBIOS instead of TCP. So SMB over NetBIOS. Now we're talking port 445, and that is taking SMB and running it on the TCP stack using port 445. This allows SMB to work over the internet. As a cybersecurity professional, you're going to see SMB a lot, so it's really important to know what SMB is in general. SMB enables inter-process communication, which is the protocol that allows applications and services on networked computers to talk to each other. SMB enables the core set of network services such as file, print, and device sharing. SMB is a common way that attackers get into systems, so knowing SMB is extremely important for your career. The next port on our list is port 500, IPSEC or IPSEC through ISA or ISACAMP. IPSEC through ISACAMP. Port 500 is used by the Internet Key Exchange or IK that occurs during the establishment of secure VPN tunnels. Users of VPN servers and clients may encounter this port. Pretty simple. You're not going to see it really a whole lot, but just know that this port exists. The next port on our list is port 515, Line Print Daemon, LPD. LPD is a network printing protocol for submitting print jobs to a remote printer. The original implementation of LPD was in the Berkeley printing system in the BSD Unix operating system. The LPRNG project also supports that protocol. The Common Unix Printing System, or CUPS, which is more common on modern Linux distributions and also found on Mac OS, supports LPD as well as the Internet Printing Protocol. Again, this is going to be another one you're not going to see very often, just know it exists. The next port on our list is port 530, RPC. RPC is Remote Procedure Call. It is a powerful technique for constructing distributed client-server-based applications. It is based on extending the conventional local procedure calling so that the called procedure does not need to exist in the same address space as the calling procedure. The two processes may be on the same system or they may be on different systems with a network connecting them. The next two ports on our list are going to go in tandem. They are port 546 DHCP V6 client and port 547 DHCP V6 server. DHCP V6 is a network protocol for configuring IPv6 hosts with IP addresses, IP prefixes, default route, local segment MTU, and other configuration data required to operate in an IPv6 network. It is not just the IPv6 equivalent of the DHCP for IPv4. The next port on our list is 636 LDAPS, or LDAP over SSL, or LDAPS isn't a fundamentally different protocol. It's the same old LDAP, just packaged differently. LDAPS allows for the encryption of LDAP data, which includes user credentials, in transit during any communication with the LDAP server, like a directory bind, thereby protecting against credential theft. SSL and TLS are cryptographic protocols that use certificates to establish a secure connection between client and server before any data, in this case LDAP, is exchanged. TLS is an improved version of SSL, making Start TLS more secure and recommended over both LDAP and LDAPS where possible. Due to the rise in security risks and increasing need for in-transit encryption, LDAPS is replacing LDAP as the accepted standard directory protocol. The way I always remembered 636 LDAPS, not saying you have to do this, this is just what works for me, is LDAPS for Stitch. So 626 is Stitch's number, and if you like Disney characters, and LDAPS, S for Stitch, 636, 626, Stitch. So if that doesn't work for you, please don't confuse yourself. Just go ahead and do whatever works for you. But that's just what works for me. The next port on our list is port 989 and 990, FTPS, or FTP over SSL or TLS. FTP over SSL or TLS. FTPS, or File Transfer Protocol Secure, is an extension of the popular FTP that supports transport layer security and secure socket layer. Broadly speaking, FTPS is a secure file transfer protocol that allows businesses to connect securely with their trading partners, users, and customers. Sent files are exchanged through FTPS and authenticated by FTPS-supported applications such as client certificates and server identities. FTPS supports file transfer encryption through algorithms like AES. Together, FTPS utilizes various security measures and encryption strategies to connect with foreign servers and verify authenticity. FTPS can help enterprises achieve cybersecurity compliance requirements such as HIPAA, PCI DSS, and other state regulations. The next port on our list is port 995, POP3 over SSL or TLS. TLS provides additional data security for POP3. The TLS protocol provides communication security over the internet and allows clients and server applications to communicate in a way that is designed to prevent eavesdropping, tampering, or message forgery. The TLS protocol is based on the SSL v3 protocol, but provides improved data security. The next port on our list is port 1433, Microsoft SQL Server. The default instance of the SQL Server database engine listens on TCP port 1433. Named instances of the database engine and SQL Server Compact are configured for dynamic ports. This means they select an available port when the SQL Server service is started. If you don't know what SQL Server is, it is a database querying language, and I highly recommend you check into it. We'll be covering it at some point here in the videos ahead and talking about what SQL is and what it can do for you. The next port on our list is port 1521. It's the default port for Oracle databases and for database services. You'll find yourself using this port if you're going to be working with Oracle systems, and that will just depend on the job you choose. Oracle is not extremely popular anymore from what I've seen personally, but it might be used depending on what you find yourself doing. The next port on our list is 1701. L2TP stands for the Layer 2 Tunneling Protocol. L2TP is a virtual private network protocol that creates a connection between your device and a VPN server without encrypting your content. Due to its lack of encryption and authentication, L2TP is usually paired with IPSEC protocol. IPSEC uses encryption algorithms and cryptographic keys to provide L2TP with the necessary encryption. IPSEC also controls data that travels between the endpoints of the created connection tunnel between the end user and a VPN server online. However, L2TP is almost 24 years old, outdated, and not frequently used. The next port on our list is port 1720, H.323 is a recommendation from the ITU Telecommunications Standardized Sector, or ITUT, that defines the protocols to provide audio-visual communication sessions on any packet network. The H.23 standard addresses call, signaling, and control, multimedia transport and control, and bandwidth control for point-to-point and multi-point conferences. It is widely implemented by voice and video conferencing equipment manufacturers is used within various internet real-time applications such as new GK and NetMeeting, and is widely deployed worldwide by service providers and enterprises for both voice and video services over IP networks. The next port on our list is port 1723, PPTP. PPTP stands for Point-to-Point Tunneling Protocol. PPTP operates on 1723, is one of the oldest VPN protocols still in use, having been around since Windows 95 and standard on all versions of Windows since. PPTP was developed by a Microsoft initiative to encapsulate another protocol called PPP, Point-to-Point Protocol. Out of all the VPN protocols, PPTP is one of the most common, easiest to set up, and computationally fastest. For that reason, PPTP is useful for applications in which speed is paramount, like audio or video streaming, and on older, slower devices with more limited processors. However, PPTP is also subject to serious security vulnerabilities. Its underlying authentication protocols, usually MS-CHAP v1 and v2, are fundamentally unsecure and have been repeatedly cracked in security analysis since PPTP was introduced. For this reason, PPTP is not recommended except in cases where security is absolutely non-essential. The next port on our list is UDP port 1812, Radius. You will see this one a lot in your career. Highly recommend knowing 1812. Radius works based on a client-server model. Users connect to a Radius client, which is a Network Access Server, or NAS. The NAS then verifies the user's information through the Radius authentication server. The connection information can include details such as username, a password, and an IP address. In complex or geographically spread out networks, a Radius proxy client can be used to forward authentication requests to other Radius servers. There are a few types of remote user authentication servers. VPN servers. These accept requests from users and facilitate secure connections to private networks. Wireless access points accept requests from wireless clients and facilitate access to a network. And managed network access switches. These implement the 802.1x Authenticate Access Protocol. Radius is very important. It is the remote authentication dial-in service. It allows remote access servers to communicate with the central server to authenticate and authorize remote user access. With Radius, companies can store user profiles in a central database that can be shared across all remote servers. Radius is one of the ways that allows for a remote workforce to be possible in today's day and age. So it's extremely beneficial to people who work remotely for organizations, no matter where they live at, to be able to authenticate themselves and access system resources. The next port on our list is port 2049, NFS, Network File System. NFS allows remote hosts to mount file systems over a network and interact with those file systems as though they are mounted locally. This enables systems administrators to consolidate resources onto centralized servers on the network. The next port on our list is Radius over TLS, port 2083. Radius over TLS, or RADSEC, uses TLS in combination with the TCP/IP. This transport profile provides stronger security than UDP, which was originally used for Radius transmission. Radius over UDP encrypts the shared secret password using the MD5 algorithm, which is vulnerable to attacks. RADSEC mitigates the risk of attack on MD5 by exchanging Radius packet payloads over an encrypted TLS tunnel. The next port on our list is port 3268. Global Catalog Service. Global Catalog is a feature of Active Directory that allows a domain controller, or DC, to provide information on any object in the forest, regardless of whether the object is a member of its domain. Domain controllers with the Global Catalog feature servers. Global Catalog servers perform several functions which are especially important in a multi-domain forest environment. We'll get into domains and forests, multi-domain forests. We'll get into Active Directory and what that is at a later time. There's a lot to dive into there. Active Directory is very broad as far as things that you want to know and should know as a cybersecurity professional. That'll be a lot to go through in and of itself. We'll dive into that later. The next port on our list is port 3368, Diameter. Diameter protocol forms the basis for service administration within the telecommunications industry. such as deciding which services a user can access at which quality of service and at what cost. The diameter protocol focuses on the application layer. AAA nodes receive positive or negative acknowledgement for each message exchanged between nodes, and TCP and SCTP ensure reliability. Since the introduction of IP-based technology in telecommunications networks, diameter protocol has been chosen as the AAA protocol for all fixed and mobile networks. Diameter AAA solutions, in other words, radius, and is a foundation of the core evolved PAC system or EPS network that supports long-term evolution LTE technology. The next port on our list is an extremely important one, and that is port 3389 or RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. RDP is an extremely popular protocol for remote access to Windows machines. In fact, there are more than 4.5 million RDP servers exposed to the internet alone, and many more than that are accessible from within internal networks. The importance of knowing and understanding RDP has never been greater, especially in light of the recent critical vulnerabilities that were found in the protocol. It is now essential knowledge that it is absolutely crucial for everyone in the security industry. RDP is a complex protocol with many extensions, and the potential of finding new critical bugs is still high. The next port on our list is 3868, or Stream Control Transmission Protocol. SCTP is an IP transport layer protocol. It exists at an equivalent level with UDP and TCP, which provides transport layer functions to many internet applications. SCTP is a reliable transport protocol operating on top of connectionless packet networks such as IP, and supports data transfer across the network in single IP or multiple IP cases. The next port on our list is port 6000 through 6063. This is any port between 6000 and 6063. This is for the X Windows system. X Windows system X11 is an open source cross-platform client-server software system that provides a GUI in a distributed network environment. Used primarily on Unix variants, X versions are also available for other operating systems. Features of the X Windows system include network transparency, the ability to link to different networks, and customizable graphical capabilities. If you run a VM on a hyperserver and it's running on your machine, in some instances you'll find that it's running the X Windows system. The last one on our list is port 9100 or HP JetDirect. HP JetDirect is the name of a technology sold by HP that allows computer printers to be directly attached to a local area network. And that's it. That is all the ports you need to be able to succeed in cybersecurity. If you can memorize all these ports, you will be great at what you do and you will succeed like nobody else. So I highly recommend watching this video, make notes, make flashcards, learn these ports like the back of your hand. Even if you don't remember them all and you can remember a majority of them, you will be doing great. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have a wonderful night.